you. Thank you very much. That sounds like opening some kind of a Nasdaq exchange. Or also, when I was in Germany, some cows, they have all these bells on their necks. And when they walk, it rings so that the owner knows where the cow gone.
Huh. Well, I know that in schools a long time ago, when I was growing up, I went to this Catholic school once, and it was run by nuns. And when you arrived, you sat down, and then the teacher, the nun, rang the bell. And then and the lesson would begin. And then also, if by chance the principal was walking around the halls and she came to the door, then the teacher would ring the bell, and we know that means stand. So she never had to say, please stand up, the principal is visiting our class. She just glances and sees the principal standing in the doorway and rings the bell, and boom, we're standing.
Yeah, bell can serve lots of functions. For instance, the judge, I think, or I don't know, I think it was a judge, when he calls for order, he rings the bell and hit the hammer or whatever it is he had, like wooden one. Yeah, I'm available for anything. Anyway, you asked me how am I today. I'm available for anything. I guess that's how we're going to call our next episode, this one.
Yes, and also I would like to say that you're available for anything sounds a little salacious, but that's okay. We're in therapy.
It's like, how can I help you except for things I cannot help you with, right? Because the good therapist, especially good-looking woman, if there is a male patient, and she asked him, how can I help you? And like you say, it may sound salacious. I don't know the meaning of this word. It's new to me, but I guess it sounds, it means something like, I don't want to say filthy, but there is a negative connotation to it.
Okay, well,
so anyway, when she asked, how can I help you except the things I cannot help you with, that kind of disappointing.
Okay, well, I mean, you thought filthy, but actually it means slightly sexy. So
it's the same.
Well, in therapy, that is called the cross transference. So quite often in Freudian psychology, if it's a woman that has a man as the therapist, in Freudian times, she would lay on the couch and he would sit behind her in a chair taking notes and smoking his pipe. But anyhow, a pipe is just a pipe. Well, I'd like to also say about the bell that there is the concept of the bell hop. So in very fancy big hotels in Europe and ski resorts and whatnot, there's a concierge that sits at a desk, and when the visitors come and they have their luggage or they need something, he'll just tap a bell and some little, minor servant will run over and see what does he want. So, the concierge does not have to say, okay, Charlie, come over here. He just taps the bell once, ding, and the next guy just runs over, and maybe they need a ride into town, or maybe they need a cab called, or maybe they need to know what cathedral to visit. So a bell hop in a fancy hotel rings a bell. And then also we have a bell hop is a girl in a little short dress who is wearing roller skates and kind of sexy stockings and a little apron. And if you go to a drive-in hamburger place, you pull your car in and press a bell on the order, you're going to order, and then the people in the restaurant know that, in aisle number 10, some guy is there who needs something. And so they send a girl in a short skirt with stockings and roller skates, and she just rolls up to his window and says, how may I help you?
except for the things I cannot help you with?
Well, on our cover shot, I would like to mention that you will see the word anything written across the screen. And there is a tea glass that is a very old possession of mine. I grew up all around the world, and sometimes my father was stationed where the family could be, like in Frankfurt, or maybe we were up in New York, or maybe we were in Virginia, or maybe we were somewhere. But sometimes he was stationed abroad, and one year we stayed in San Antonio, my mother and the children, and he was stationed up on the Black Sea coast, a town called, well, in English you'd say Trabzon, but we would sometimes call it, Trapezoid. What would you call Trabzon?
I like the name Trabzon. I think sounds great. Trapezoid. What language is that?
No, not trapezoid, but Trabzoid. Trabzoid. It's like Turkish. Okay. Well, anyhow, so like the tea glass is. The tea glass is also sitting on these tables that I spoke about in an earlier episode that my father rode into the Khyber Pass between Afghanistan and Pakistan. And he rode out on his horse, because we have an episode called Horses. And he brought these tables tied to the side of his horse out of the Khyber Pass. And I always loved them as I was growing up. I would come home from college, I would love sitting in the front room where these little tables were, and my father would read the newspaper and, drink coffee in the morning. So I was always very fond of these tables. And then, when my mother and father passed away and we went through the house, pilfering through who wants this and who wants that. There was a lot of German clocks. We all got a clock, and there was there's wine decanters and this, all stuff from all over the world. But I remember, deciding I wasn't even going to ask, did anybody want this? I just put them directly in my car, and now I have them with me here in Dallas. So the tea glass came from Trabzon, and I believe that the design, to me, it's etched, and it's also in a kind of a special glass. It's called cranberry glass. Yeah. And actually in antique stores, this type of glass is quite expensive for collectors. But I think that the design reminds me of a little bit of the top of a pineapple. And a pineapple is the international symbol of hospitality. So sometimes you'll go to different ski resorts or vacation places, and they'll have like a pineapple carved out of wood or carved out of marble or something. So, if we're going to talk about anything, I would be talking about the Black Sea coast and pineapples and hospitality. Have you ever been to the Black Sea coast?
Can I comment on the tea glass before I answer? When I see that picture you sent me, I thought, what a fancy glass. I liked it a lot. And I know that Turkish people, they drink their tea from glasses like that, although we're usually teacups and more accustomed to. What do you like to drink your tea from?
Oh, I suppose, well, if I'm having like British tea or Earl Grey tea, I like it to be in a ceramic or porcelain mug, tea, something with a handle. And then I have to have sugar and I have to have cream. And I like Earl Grey. So if I'm drinking Earl Grey, it needs to be in a porcelain mug. But if I'm feeling, like I really want to focus on the tea and I want it to be very delicate and amazing and a very aesthetic experience, I will use tea glasses. So I have, all kinds of tea glasses. It's customary in Turkey, when you get married, for somebody in the family to give you your tea glasses. So the person that gets to give the bride the tea glasses, that's like a very honored sort of thing. And then, of course, you need silver teaspoons. So whoever gets to do that, and these teaspoons, I don't know, they're probably cost like, $100 a teaspoon. You need to have 8. So someone gets to buy you, $800 worth of like tiny teaspoons. So the concept of gifting and the value of gifts, I have always heard that a gift isn't really good unless it really hurts the person to give it. So like, if you're going to give somebody a gift, give something of deep value, not just something that, is casual and not so meaningful.
Huh. Hey, okay, thank you very much. Thanks for sharing. I now back to the subject of the Black Sea. I've been there quite a few times. When I was a child, I went to the Black Sea, I guess, with my parents. But that's not what I'm going to say. I was always fascinated with the names like black. I don't know. Red, for instance. See, I guess the Turks named it that way, right? Do you know anything about why did they get named like that?
Of course I do. Now,
Turkish language.
the Black
No?
Sea has black sand on it. And the Black Sea in Turkish is Karadeniz. So Deniz means the sea. And that is actually one of my daughter's names. So we wanted a name that would work in English. In English, it would be Denise, Denise. But in Turkish, it's Deniz. So Karadeniz means the Black Sea. And then Ordu Deniz means the Dead Sea. So there's the Dead Sea, and then there's the Red Sea, and there's all these seas, and quite often they're named in Turkish by the color of the sand.
I thought that the Red Sea was called that way because it had some kind of a red corals in there, or maybe
Well,
I'm
yes,
mistaken.
yes, something. I mean, I don't think the Red Sea has red sand. I just know that it has to do with something that's in that sea. I haven't been to the Red Sea, but anything's possible. Anything is possible.
Yeah, and also the Black Sea is not surrounded by land. I mean, completely. Anyway, when I see all these seas, if you allow me this to say like that, when I see all these seas, I think of a computer game, because you can start civilization here. Let's call it, I don't know, Ottoman Empire, and the one is up north. Let's call it Roman Empire, and then some other empires, and that would be a civilization. Actually, when I was a kid, there was such a game.
Well, I remember when my daughters were growing up and we were in Turkey, they played this game, and it was it was like a computer, kind of a real primitive computer game where you build cities. Is that it?
Yeah, I guess. Oh, I'm sure there were many, but Civilization was like the most popular. Would have been. Did you ever play computer games?
Well, my computer games are like entering grades for students. No, I like to play cards, but I like to play cards like physical cards, not just on. I would sometimes play solitaire online, but if I was like really bored out of my mind, but I never did like what is it, World of Warcraft or Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, well, that was absolute. I don't know. I liked it a lot. It's pity you know.
Well, I mean, you're a man. You're a man.
No, but there are feminine games as well.
Well, I just know that I have an unnamed relation in my family who's an adult, and I just remember visiting. I don't know, visiting my sister, and she was married, and her husband would go to work, and he would come home, and then you have dinner, we watch a little television, and then I would just visit her, and then everybody goes to sleep. And then I remember getting up in the middle of the night to go get a glass of water or something, and all of a sudden, like I just heard all this noise, and her husband's like sitting on the floor like a kid playing. Like, what is it where like other players play and you're like killing everybody and you're just sitting on the floor killing people?
Yeah.
Is that done?
Shooter, real-time player. I don't remember. I haven't played for a while. My nephews, they play this interesting games. I wouldn't even consider it interesting, but the whole world played it. Called Minecraft. You ever heard of it?
Oh yeah. That's I know
It's
that.
terrible graphic. I don't know what's attractive there. Anyway, before the computers, before all these video games, I think people always like to play. So these board games. I'm not bad in chess, actually. I liked it a lot.
Did you say chess?
Yeah, chess.
Oh, chess.
Chess game. Chess.
Oh, okay.
Exactly. Board games. All kind of stuff. Also,
Well, you know,
cards and. Sorry, go ahead.
I remember I would play this game with my brothers, and you sit, like my mother always had a card table set up in the den, and sometimes she had a puzzle there, or she had a whole bunch of National Geographic magazines on this bookshelf behind it. It was kind of like this game corner. And I remember that one of the games she had, you open the box and it's called Battleship. And you would each get I would get a card that was, kind of like a bingo card, and you put it in the slot, and then you play these games like I make a move, then you make a move, then I make a move, then you make a move. And our goal, we're like submarines, trying to like kill each other. So I played Kill Your Brother Battleship games, and I think the thing was called Battleship. But it was something physical. You actually take your finger and you push some little slot open. So it's with like physical pieces. It wasn't like an online game. And then my father taught me to play chess. And then I remember when I was going to have my first child, like everybody thinks of like what they want for their children, like, they imagine, what would be the most amazing thing. And I always wanted to have a daughter that would play chess and also that would play the piano. And that was daughter number 2. And she learned to play chess from her father. And when she was in 2nd grade, she was on the chess team, which was all boys. And I thought, I don't know, maybe this says something about me and why I'm in therapy, but I loved the fact that she could beat all the boys. She was so smart. And the fathers, who were all, bankers and lawyers, very, very wealthy people, they sponsored the chess club. So they would come after school for an hour, and, the little kids could, she was in the 2nd grade, and then these mainly fathers, would come and like run the chess club, and then they went to chess tournaments. And I just thought that was great. And then I was kind of upset when some of her little girlfriends tried to lure her away from this game of beating the boys at chess because she's so smart. Her little girlfriends decided they're going to become crossing guards. They're going to get a belt to wear around their waist and across their, chest area. And they were going to hold a sign so other people could walk across the street. And I kept thinking like that's like a waste of like mental power. But I thought, let me choose my battles and not like freak out because my daughter wants to be a crossing guard. So I just said, well, this semester you need to finish what you start. You're going to finish chess club. And then in January, if you and all your girlfriends want to I didn't say be dumb and stand there and hold a stick. I said, okay, if you and your girlfriends want to be crossing guards, you can switch to that as your extracurricular activity. Chess.
You mentioned piano. I was good at the time, and at some time I played piano more than I played video games. And I wondered, why didn't I play piano more than video games? Because that way I would have been, I don't know, a musician, right? I was, and I would even work as a pianist at some piano bar or live music. I don't know. So many strange things in life.
Well, I think we were talking the other day about this sort of a short story or a little bit of a long short story that we're sort of working on called Drop and Roll. And then we were also talking about some poem that I had written, and you were saying, "Oh, that could be very lyrical. Maybe I'll write some music to that." So there's your challenge. Your challenge is to go back and see what the heck you're supposed to be doing. I mean, do you remember that?
Exactly. Just one day ago, I thought this is my life, and it's. I'm not gonna say it's over, but still, and I'm doing this. By this, I mean I have to go to the office and sit all day long and do stuff that I don't want to do. I would rather be somewhere, having fun on the beach. I'm like everybody else, not different. Or maybe I would have be play piano while drunk, right? Because when you're drunk, I mean that, of course.
No, there's a wonderful, wonderful big hotel, a huge hotel. It's well, I mean, this is Texas, but I know that in Europe everything is even old, very old. But this is the new world. But I remember there's this hotel, and it was called the Melrose, and then it was taken over and modernized, owned by the Warwick hotel chain. And I had a very wonderful friend from my church, Martha Brooks, who had I don't know, did she turn 80? Did she turn 90? I can't remember. I was invited to her birthday party. So, and I got this invitation saying it was at the Melrose. And I thought, oh, okay, well, it'll be her family, maybe like 30 people. And, she told me if I'd like to bring my daughter. She was very fascinated by the daughter that played piano. As my plus one, I would certainly be welcome to bring the piano playing daughter. So I get to this place and it's like all these limos pulling up and all this valet. It's this huge hotel with this fabulous entranceway. And there were like, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 500 people in this grand ballroom. And it was like, geez. And I was seated at the table with all these nuns, these sisters of the Ursuline order. So like one of the prestigious Catholic schools in Dallas is Ursuline, and another one is Hockaday. Hockaday is non-denominational, but I was seated at this table with, this was like North Texas Catholic royals. So there I am with Denise, and she's so charming. She can just sit next to anybody and just talk to them about whatever they want to talk about. So I'm there just like enjoying all of the shrimp cocktail, like looking for butter to put on my bread. Like I'm not very excited about the nuns. I'm more excited about the shrimp cocktail and stuff like that. Like how the butter had, it was like shaped in, like I had a print of a little, I don't know, like a pineapple or something. So I'm like staring at the butter. Meanwhile, these nuns are like making small talk with Denise, and they're talking about piano. And then at another table, there's all these musicians that are like just fabulous. Like they happen to be musicians from Holy Trinity, but from the cathedral, some of those musicians were there, and from some other of St. Monica and Christ the King. Like those churches have tons of money and fabulous organs. And so anyhow, I was at the table with these nuns. Why am I talking? Oh, okay. So anyhow, that was Martha Brooks' birthday party. I think she turned 90. And then Denise quietly leaned over to me and she said, well, Mom, I think we should do something like this when you turn 90. I kept thinking, that is so amazing, because Denise knows I love like very fancy, over the top stuff. And there was like the flowers on the table were like, and they had pomegranates on the table and like peonies, and it was just like being in a movie. But back to the piano. So some time went by, and I went back to, they have a little small club in that Melrose Hotel, and it's called the Library Club. And I remember when Denise was in medical school, her sponsor took some of the medical students to the Library Club to, wine and dined them. But I went recently about, when the pandemic ended. I went there, and you walk in this fabulous foyer, and there's a concierge guy to be sure you're no riffraff just coming in off the streets. And so I went with this girl named Michelle, and she's just going up the stairs. I go, slow down, Michelle. You only have one chance to make a first impression. We have to go to the top of the stairs. We have to pause, and this guy's going to look at us, and then we start moving. She goes, wow. So we go to the top of the stairs. We go in, and this fellow scurries. He goes, and how may I help you? Do you know the Beauty and the Beast movie, like Be My Guest? Do you know that song?
Of course.
So anyhow, he's very much like that. And I go, well, hello, my good man. I am here to show this lovely young lady the library club. And then I lean into him. I go, and what is your name? I lean into him, look at his little name tag, and it says David. I go, oh, of course your name is David. I said, I know so many interesting Davids. And then he just escorted us to the library club, and they have a piano bar there. And on Friday and Saturday nights, they have different musicians who will play music. It's very like European, and a little small dance floor. And I don't know. I went in there another time to deliver some art to somebody, but I was late, and so I got there, and I'm wandering around. I had some like amazing hat on, and then some guys were sitting at a table, and they asked me who I was, and anyhow, they were here from Barcelona. They were like, anyhow, it's in the middle of downtown Dallas, where like there's like lots of money in hotels, and they wanted to know if I'd like to sit at their table, and I saw all the food on their table. It's like, oh hell yeah. So there is a piano bar there. I mean, you could be playing there drunk.
Absolutely. And that would be also excited, as you said. You mentioned excited. And I thought how excited I was a few days ago when we had that Spotify thing. And then you said that some of our listeners tried to subscribe, or I don't know, listen and ask for credit card details, which is absolutely outrageous. I don't know how it works over at where you read. But I would suggest to switch to Google Podcasts or Apple Podcasts. We're also there. And I like Google personally. The one thing is that you can listen it in the background, which is very convenient compared to YouTube. I mean, you can just turn off the screen or use another application and still listen. There are many interesting podcasts there, especially ours. And several people have told me 2 years ago when we started Petroma Therapy. I think it was in July or June of 2021, right? And it was 2020. It was 2020. It was the first pandemic year, I guess.
Oh gosh! Wow, we're getting old.
Time flies, when you're having fun.
So I remember some people were saying they want to watch it, but they're at work and they can't turn on YouTube because their bosses are like pacing around behind them, and you're not supposed to be doing anything other than focusing on your work. And several people said, why don't you turn to a podcast? And I go, well, okay, thanks for sharing your idea. I'll get back with you. But some of our original subscribers actually made those suggestions, and so here we are talking about anything. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about before we wrap it up with the bell?
There are lots of things I would like to go over with, but please ring the bell. I like how it rings. Could you next time just ring them all if you have many in your house?
Oh, I have so many bells. Okay. Oh, also, I love people that play the bells. There's a woman that I met in the G+ communities. I think that's where we ran into each other in an art community back in G+ world. Now I'm in MeWe world, and you're in podcast world. But this woman, she was really, really interesting. She was a photographer. And her online, I was Texas, and her online name was Wanda Lotus. which I thought was very beautiful. And she was a photographer, and she loved to photograph the Bronx. She was from the Bronx in New York. And then she loved to go to the parks and photograph like the big lions and the bronze statues. And she was not particularly religious. And she found, many religions kind of, patronizing towards women. Had a bit of a chip on her shoulder about that. But she was part of a bell choir, and she loved to take the subway to this one old church. And I think on Saturday mornings they would practice for 2 hours. And it's a bell choir. Like, they're not singing, but they're creating the hymn from bells, and then they would, different parts of the practice session, some of them performed at the 9 o'clock, or some of them performed on Sunday at the noon. But I kept thinking, wow, that's like pretty amazing to be in a very beautiful old cathedral and to have a bell choir. No singing, just bells.
Would you like me to describe you the most interesting woman I have ever met? Just in a few words. I was like in school. I think I was 16 or something, and she was 10 years my senior. Yeah, she was tall and thin. Maybe she was even beautiful. She was to me. Yeah, what am I talking about? This, just ring the darn bell. That's over.
No, wait a minute. Was she a nun with a gun?
No, she was like a member of Communist Party, maybe, or maybe not. But she
like,
to be. I had A's all over. I've never failed. Was considered like half genius or semi-genius. I don't know what the word would be.
Prodigy.
Yeah, maybe.
I call it child prodigy. So you're 16 years old, and why was she observing you, or what was she doing?
No, I liked her very much. She was 10 years old. She was kind of a teacher.
She was a teacher at a school.
She was my favorite teacher. I think she was alcoholic. Maybe not, but anyway. You said that interesting woman. I said, oh, well, why don't I say how, who the most interesting woman in my life was? But then I thought, what am I talking about? Maybe we should just wrap it up and not to.
Well, now I'm going to tell you about when I love shapes, and I love three-dimensional. And I was never very good at algebra, but I was in geometry. I took a geometry class, and I think, we were stationed someplace overseas, so all the teachers came from different parts of the world, but it was an English-speaking school, so Americans and British and ambassadors or whatever were in these schools. And I remember I loved my geometry teacher. They used to seat people by their height. So like little short people would sit at the front, and medium-sized people would sit in the middle, and taller people would sit at the back. And, I was always tall. I was a tall baby. I was a tall child. I've grown up to be a tall person. I just remember sort of sitting in the back, and you raise your hand, and then, the teacher does some like tap dancing on the blackboard in front of you, like some geometry, and like he's drawing all this stuff, which I can't see because my mother had not yet taken me to an eye exam, to figure out that I need glasses. But anyhow, I just kind of raise my hand. So like after he does the lesson, then you can raise your hand and he'll come to your desk and lean over you and help you with your work. I think I was 15. And I just remember he had some kind of aftershave. And like he was like two inches from me. It's like I was just like about drooling. But anyhow, he had this shirt. It was like it's like a white shirt, but it had little tiny red and pink stripes in it, like this red and pink striped shirt. And I really could care less about geometry, and he would like draw something on my paper, and he would look at me. He said, "Now, does this make sense?" I go, yes, thank you. And then he would go off to somebody else who had raised, his or her hand. But I don't remember what his name was, but I do remember his shirt.
Yeah, time seems very, very weird. It was many years ago, but it feels like it was yesterday.
Yes, I'm closing my eyes. I'm 15 years old. He's coming near my desk. I'm like super excited. And then afterwards, it was the class right before lunch. So, they dismissed the class. I guess a bell rang all over the school. And then everybody stood up and we left, And then we would go to the lunchroom, the lunch tables. And then the girls were like, "Oh my gosh, Mr. So-and-so, did you smell him? He smelled so amazing." So these were like, young girls that had crushes on their teachers. Well, I guess.
Hey, no. Wait. Can I just small comment again? I was thinking of time, and I thought, I'm sitting here doing nothing, talking about anything, and time seemed to go so fast. It's very morning before I go to work, but mark my words, when I get to office, time will seem to drag all day. I don't know how it works, but it sucks.
Yes, no, it's very much like that. It's I remember when I first got a microwave. Like I love to cook and I love to stir with wooden spoons, and I like to cook like real cooking. And then I remember everyone was getting microwaves in the 1980s, 1990s. I don't know when the microwave was invented, but everyone was so excited about the microwave. And like I had rented an apartment or something that had a microwave in it. And I hated it because I would put something in there and you put like 15 seconds on the dial and you just stand there waiting for 15 seconds and you just feel like it's an eternity. The only thing you're trying to do is just like heat up a cup of hot water to tea. And I just remember that 15 seconds seemed like forever. And I didn't like the microwave. So what I did is I got a piece of paper and I taped it over the front of it. The big, like don't enter, like that sign that's red with a cross on it. And my daughters came home from school. You go, "What happened to the microwave?" I said, "We're not using it anymore." They go, "Why?" I hear a really weird vibration. What is that? Is that microwaves?
I have noticed that when people used microwave, cockroach disappeared from, I don't know, completely. And now everybody abandoned back to that's the regular heaters or whatever it is. And they're back. I don't know, maybe vibrations, maybe they're not safe. I don't know why everybody loved them and then here we are.
Well, I've always felt that at the end of the world, even if there's like a nuclear disaster, there'll be two creatures left, lawyers and cockroaches.
I've never felt that.
No, I mean, cockroaches just like they just keep coming back. Like someone comes and sprays in your house or your apartment, or they go around the building, or they, put huge tents over houses and try to fumigate. And for like 2 weeks, it's okay. Probably just smelling the toxic fumes is harmful. And then, there you go. They're back again. I'm really wondering why there is a vibration sound. I wonder what is on.
Yeah, I can hear that too. So maybe let's wrap it up. Maybe it's because it's really late at your place.